One. Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 414. Is that a code for something? 414, it's 404, I know is the missing webpage thing, but...
Not 420.
Yeah, it's not, no, that was a couple of weeks ago and something I'm intimately familiar with, but...
Indicates the URI is too long for the web server to interpret.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kacey.
This show too long. We already have a tow title.
Really, yeah. And really, that describes most of our shows. Too long.
And not in a good way.
Yeah. My name is Russell Frost. I have the good fortune to be your host with this amazing panel. Let me introduce these fine folks, and let's get this show on the road. To my left. Is that left? No, that's actually right on the sky. I don't know. My friend, voice actor, writer, director, multi-talented, Georgia McKenzie.
I'm on the left or right, or whatever. We don't have any knowledge of directions. We're just here.
So, yeah,
Hey, everybody.
it could be the east, it could be the west. It just depends on which way the screen formats.
You meant politically.
Exactly. Well, going in the other direction, on the other side of me, as I'm looking at the screen now, is my friend. He is the, the Waterloo Regional Electric Vehicle Association, one of the founders. And he is the host and founder of the Tesla Life Show, which is tearing up Twitter and YouTube. And you can watch them every week. Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Thank you very much, Russell. Yes, indeed. We've got some interesting news to let you people in on tonight.
Ooh, so stay tuned.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Well, in the bottom left corner, bottom right corner, excuse me, he is my friend in the upper left corner of America to my lower left corner of America. He is the person that posts all of our news, and of course, one of the social media gurus behind oeva.org, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello, everybody. Coming to you from sunny Oregon. And we're making lots of kilowatt hours. In fact, we were net positive last month, and I wrote about that in my latest blog post, how I made more energy than I used. It's pretty cool.
Carswithcords.net. Patrick has almost as many different digital fingers and different digital pies as I do. Maybe more. I don't know. I shouldn't say that.
I didn't know it was a competition. Let's go.
It's definitely not a competition. I will happily cede that to you or anyone else. Speaking of a young digital entrepreneur, he is our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region, well known for his supercharger reviews and his immaculate grooming, Mr. Kacey Green.
How's it going today? We just got done reviewing the Tesla's superchargers today. As well as numerous Tesla software updates. So look for them to come out soon.
There you go.
It's a nice sunny day.
Do check youtube.com/Kacey Green. Last and not least, he is the founder and principal behind Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado. If you have a hybrid car or an EV and you need a repair, he's the man to see. Or if you want to buy one of those, he's also the man to see. In fact, really in my world, he's just the man. Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey everybody, glad to be back, and I have a new beer sponsor.
Oh, Kirkland.
It's a Citra flavored IPA from Costco of all places. It's not bad. I used to really like a beer called Citradelic that was made by New Belgium, and they stopped making it. So This is close, not as good, but it's a Costco and it's cheap. So
this was a self-purchase or a donation?
This one I purchased myself. I was there and I saw it. I said, "What the heck?" You know, it was $20 for 24 cans.
That's cheap.
Good price.
Wow. Wow. Right on. And as Paul likes to say, the best thing you can leave your mechanic is an extra 6-pack, okay?
That's true.
So nothing wrong with that 6-pack in the passenger seat is for you guys. Just a little tip.
After you're happy with the car.
Maybe.
Don't give the mechanic beer first.
Yeah, that might. Well, Paul, but no trustworthy mechanic would drink before working on your car.
No, but you want to give it to them as a reward for doing a good job.
There you go. It's a tip.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That seems very reasonable. Well, let's go to Mr. Kacey Green, who has a story, strangely enough, sort of in my wheelhouse, which isn't to take anything away from. He's the one that found it and suggested it. So, Kacey, what do you got?
So you guys may have heard of something called the Livewire, which is a model of bike, right? By our friends at Harley. Well, Harley doesn't want it to be a model anymore. They want it to be a brand. So they are going to release a full lineup of Livewires, and I thought that would be something fun for us to discuss today.
Wow.
They're all going to be $38,000.
Who knows? It's Harley.
So, I'm sorry, Kate. I don't want to jump in any more exposition. That's it.
That was what I had. Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, COVID has impacted us economically in strange and bizarre ways. Some ways that maybe everybody tends to think, wow, business impacted by COVID, somebody lost some money somewhere. So not true. There have been a lot of businesses that have profited enormously off of COVID, sometimes in nefarious ways and sometimes just because they're there providing a service that people trapped in their homes needed. In the case of Harley, Harley was a company on the edge of just swirling down the big. Yeah, they were circling the bowl hard, and no grip on the sides. They were just, and then COVID happened, and then all of a sudden everybody got tired of sitting at home and wanted to go outside and do things by themselves, like motorcycle riding. Harley's had a huge year. They can't keep things in stock. So what was started as kind of we want to stay relevant because most of our owners are aging out, but we don't have a lot of money to invest in it. All of a sudden, Harley's got a little flex to do, and this Livewire thing is interesting. Now, hopefully they'll screw it up less than what they've already screwed up. Who said $38,000 motorcycle? Was that Paul? Thank you. Hopefully they'll figure that out. But then again, it's Harley, and they don't care. Most of their customers are loaded. They're wealthy boomers, and they just, why not? If you can sell a $40,000 motorcycle, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Has anyone got any sales figures on what the Livewire actually did? Do we know if it was even mildly successful for them, or?
I think they sold 12.
Yeah.
So that's mild.
I have yet to see one in a dealership or on the road, and I will admit that I have been in a few Harley. I cruise motorcycle dealerships, so.
I saw one on YouTube once.
Did you?
It sent about 3,000 bikes in 2019.
Wow.
So
There was one in the Avengers movie.
Yeah. Right. Black Widow drives one. Or no, wait, that's a Zero.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think that was a
Livewire.
custom. I think that was a custom one-off Zero. I could be wrong.
Oh.
For some reason, I'm thinking that was a custom one-off Zero DSR.
There were two in the mini series on Apple for the long road home.
Oh, right. Was that the Ewan McGregor thing?
Ewan McGregor thing, yeah.
Yeah.
well, the thing is Harley Davidson products are basically like Lamborghinis. Sure, they're for people who like power, but mostly they're for people who can afford some kind of ego extension as a car. And in this case, this is just a motorcycle. The people I know who enjoy motorcycles and love them, they ride Hondas and or they go out there and they find themselves, some of the old-fashioned bikes and refurbish that. Harley's is one of my girlfriends used to put it was like, well, I could always just ride a Honda for about 100,000 miles, bang it so it leaks and break it, and then I'd have a Harley anyway. So, so Harley Davidson is for the people when they're thinking quality, they go out and they buy a Gucci handbag, and some of us look at the Gucci handbag and see the label, and some of us know to maybe go find, if we're going to go for a label, we find a good Coach or a Kate Spade, something with long-lasting quality, good stitching, and proper materials. We don't bother with the Gucci. But that's just me.
Right. You're not spending $2,000 on the YSL clutch purse?
I couldn't give a...
Yeah.
I couldn't give a rat's ass.
So one good thing that came out of all of this, though, is they ended up with a moderate DC fast charging network that came out of it, because all of the dealerships that carry the vehicle were required to have a 25 kilowatt or 50 kilowatt DC fast charger.
Which is certainly smart on their hands because Harley understands the social component of selling a retail product, which is something a lot of companies totally choke on. They get it. They know the
I mean,
merchandise.
And their stores are nice. They're not crappy. You know, they look really professional, you know, for a motorcycle store.
They're used to dealing with boomers with money.
Yeah.
And they don't want to shop in the greasy garage anymore. They want, they're going to spend 25, 30 grand on a bike.
Russell's in the Matrix again.
I am.
If it was
Oh my
him or
God,
me.
he's got unplugged.
Russell, you got to whack your router or something.
You turned robotic.
You gotta smack your router.
Is that a euphemism for something? Or I don't.
As long as you got a safe word for your router, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, I don't. But anyway, well, we'll hope. I think the interesting thing, and again, forgive me for going off on this because, this is definitely a subject I'm passionate about. I don't know long term. Like, Harley's customers are still aging out. They're still they're not appealing to younger people, and the people buying a $30,000+ electric motorcycle with 100 miles of range aren't necessarily young, environmentally conscious people. They're old people with money that don't whatever.
There's probably 3 people at work at Google who will buy one.
Yeah, sure, right, whatever, or I mean, there's so the question
to the same problem as Buick and Lincoln then.
Very much so, right? I mean, how do they stay relevant in an American market where their legend isn't what it was? It doesn't translate necessarily intergenerationally, and especially with a product that is the antithesis of what their old product was, which was loud, mechanically unstable, really, really loud. Did I mention it was loud? Now you're selling a nearly silent, hopefully mechanically stable, not going to go into the dealership every 2 weeks for a tune-up kind of product.
It is the loudest EV motorcycle in the market.
Yeah.
That's a low bar, but they got over it. Yeah.
Yay, Harley. You managed to jump that anyway. That's all I got. I'm sorry. I'll shut up on the motorcycle
But
thing.
when they drive down the street, will they trigger car alarms?
Oh,
No.
God.
Wait, you can do EMPs. Just run down the street.
Electronically, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, except, of course, you cancel out your own chips and your own bike just goes, brrr,
That's true.
right? Isn't
They
that
go
what
to pass
did?
each other. They go to pass each other. They give the motorcycle wave, and then the other bike shuts down.
Don't think. Yeah, I got nothing. Let's go to Paul for another story about electric transportation, but in a little bit different sense. And of course, because it's Paul, something maybe involving Colorado.
Yeah. This story kind of crossed my desk last week, early May 3rd. So CSU, one of the big colleges here, was doing some battery work, and they spun off a business called Solid Power to do solid state batteries. And of course, they've shipped nothing yet, but they had a fundraising event and they raised $130 million. And two of the biggest funders were Ford and BMW. So they are spending the money in the next town over from Boulder building batteries, hopefully, which is pretty cool to have more American-made batteries, and for me to see them being made in Colorado. So they're still kind of in stealth mode, but for two big companies to chuck in $130 million, they must have something good, I would hope. So let's hope that it comes to fruition and we see these batteries in a Ford or BMW coming soon. And speaking of Ford, next week they are going to announce the Lightning, which I guess is their internal code name for their electric F-150, with all kinds of cool rumors, 300-mile range, all-wheel drive, looks like a normal pickup, but cooler, yada, yada, yada. And as we all know, the F-150 is the top-selling vehicle in the country. So if they can pull off an electric pickup that is a decent vehicle and reasonably affordable, that is a game changer. and it's probably going to ship before the Cybertruck ships. So we'll see.
It doesn't even have to be affordable, does it? I mean, they're already spending 60, 70 grand on trucks.
There are $80,000 F-150s out there.
And then we've got the Hummer is going to be 110 to start. So
Right.
I mean, they've got room to play.
Yeah, and maybe those rich old people that would have bought a Lightning motorcycle, or not Lightning,
Livewire.
Yeah. Oh.
They'll buy the pickup instead, or maybe they'll buy both. They'll buy the pickup, carry
So
the
Livewire.
Yeah, and if you're a Ford fan, it's great that they're going to have this. And they had the Lightning sub-brand in the past, and they retired it,
Right.
and now they're bringing it back out, which is great. It's my guess, and I don't have any confirmation of this at all, but this brand came out in the late 90s when they were starting their electrification, and I think they got ahead on their marketing. And then Who Killed the Electric Car happened,
Right.
and that got rid of all of the plans. So since they'd gone through the work of getting that brand, they used it. And I mean, you could say like maybe the Chevy Spark was the same sort of thing. And now that they're actually electrifying, they can bring it back and use it as it was originally intended to be used.
Another cool rumor about Ford is they're going to have one of the little transit commercial vans electrified, which is pretty cool because there's no real electric van available right now.
Not
States.
in the United States. We have to go to Portugal to buy the damn thing.
And then one other announcement in the next week or two, Subaru is announcing their all-electric vehicle with all-wheel drive, which Subaru is very popular in places like Colorado, Alaska, Vermont, where they do get snow. So I guess the takeaway here is these big legacy companies are starting to come out with real products, at least announcing them. I guess they may not.
That's the easy part.
2022, but they're jumping on the bandwagon. They're like, hey, look at Tesla. Everybody loves Tesla, and the stock's going to the moon. Let's do something to compete with those guys.
Speaking of bandwagon, they all jumped on and put ads out for his appearance on the show.
Right.
Right. Can't blame them there.
Anyway, let's see if Solid Power comes up with some solid products.
I see what you did.
If solid state batteries work out the way that everybody says that they are supposed to, it's going to be a breakthrough.
Yeah, definitely. And even if it doesn't, batteries get better every year, 5 to 7% better, and you do that over a decade, and you get somewhere real fast.
Yeah. And you don't have to wait for it to get there like Toyota does.
Well, the thing is that, we've all talked about the fact that they're slow to get started and they've missed a lot of opportunities, but they're so big that once they decide to start doing something, they have the supply chain, they have the engineering expertise, they have the legislative pull, and they have the funding that startups just do not have. I would say even Tesla, although Tesla is pretty far past a startup, but the thing is that once the big boys manage to get their shit together and get it in gear, they're able to move a heck of a lot faster. It will surprise you. It's just turning that thing around. It's like that tanker that was stuck in the Panama Canal for a while. Because you're sitting there and you're just like, how the hell do you miss the chance to make a clear move to go forward? And instead you run up on the sidebar and everybody else is just looking at your fat ass blocking progress. But once you get it out the way, suddenly they can take off. And I don't think we should be surprised if they can, the thing is not even if. They sell enough and they buy enough that once they start making these cars and just putting them on the market, that's it. We have a snowball effect. So it's really good news, and especially being able to manufacture these items right here in the U.S., which I believe is a critical component of sustainability. So let's see where it goes. It's exciting though.
One other point to mention is that with the announcement coming on May the 19th that Ford will announce the F-150 Lightning, I guess just before that announcement, Joe Biden's administration is going to talk a little bit about their $174 billion electrification plan that they have outlined. So that'd be some interesting watching as well. So a couple things to watch for on the 19th.
Nice.
Nice. Well, we'll keep you updated as much as we can, and maybe we'll do a live show. I don't know. You never know. You have to just pay attention. That's all I can say. Well, it's been a big week. If I had a drum roll, this would be a drum roll, but I don't have a drum roll. Let's go to Mark Coughlin for This Week in Tesla.
Nothing happened.
There we go. Yay, thank you.
All right, we're done.
You know, someday I'm waiting for that to happen. Just once.
Yes, it'd be interesting if it would happen.
Oh.
Lots of stories. We're just going to take a look at 3 of them. Tesla reached a total of 25,000 plugs in their supercharger network. So that was a 25% increase over the last 6 months. So the amount of superchargers going in has not slowed. It's increased. And with the number of cars they're selling, it's a good thing because there's more and more of them on the road. So that was interesting to see that they've increased that much over 6 months. Secondly, unless you were under a rock, you probably found out that Elon was on Saturday Night Live this past Saturday. And of course, him not being an actor, he wasn't fantastic, but I would say that for a non-actor, he did a pretty good job. And he was in a whole bunch of skits that were happening on Saturday Night Live. In fact, he was in most of them in some sort of a role. So that was interesting to see. And I was happy to see he reprised the role almost of Dieter that Mike Myers made famous, the German from Sprockets. Back in, I guess that would have been the late 90s, possibly. But that was kind of interesting that he kind of reprised that role. So that was fun to see. Also, on the back of that, with Elon in New York City, the Cybertruck made an appearance and was actually put on display for a couple of days in the Meatpackers District in the Tesla store there. And there's a number of videos out there that you can see it driving the streets of New York, one of them going by down Broadway, which was kind of cool. And man, does that truck ever look bizarre in New York City? It just looks like it's out of an 80s sci-fi movie. Like it's just the crazy angles, the neon lights shining off. It's stainless steel surface, just incredible. So go out and take a look at 3 of those videos. It looks pretty cool. Finally, kind of a bad news story, or I guess it's a cautionary tale. There's a gentleman in San Francisco Bay Area that decided that he was going to make a name for himself by taking out his Model 3 on the freeway and drive it from the rear seat. So this person, obviously, being what he was after was clicks and views on his social media. I'm not going to mention his name because that's exactly what he was looking for. But he was photographed and videoed by many drivers in the Bay Area on a few different occasions of him driving without a driver. So he would get the car in autopilot, and then he would hop to the back seat. And then he would use his foot sometimes to touch the wheel because, of course, autopilot's always asking if you don't touch the wheel within 20 or 25 seconds, you have to touch the wheel. So he was pushing it with his foot from the back seat. Now, this is an asinine move that could have resulted in not only hurting him, but others around him. Obviously, in the videos that were shown, he was going a slow speed because, of course, if you're in San Francisco Bay Area and you're driving on one of those highways that goes around the bay, they're basically parking lots at certain points of the day, and you're just kind of trudging along. And of course, autopilot's doing well, but just keeping space of the traffic in front and behind you. But if he had have gone over a bump or pushed the wheel a certain way, it would have knocked autopilot out, and then he would have had to scramble to try to get back into the seat. So again, ridiculous. But what was good about this was at least the other social media people out there that saw this, they took it upon themselves to forward the videos and photos of this guy taken from people to the California Highway Patrol. And with that information, the California Highway Patrol was able to get a license plate number, and they were able to keep monitoring what this guy was doing. And as the tweets and information came in, they actually spotted him on the road and were able to come up behind and pull him over. And they actually were able to charge him with 2 counts of reckless driving. They took him to prison, to jail, and he spent a night in jail for whatever reason, overnight. And then in the morning, he was released. Unfortunately, he took this instant fame he got and talked to a bunch of local news media outlets, television stations, and indicated that this was not going to deter him. He was going to go right out and do this again and continue doing it. So
lawyer, love that.
This is just ridiculous. But at least the sensible people have been able to share what he's been doing, and the police have taken action. And hopefully, if he does this again, they will be on him again and provide more fines, or hopefully remove him from his license. That's what I would like to see. So, cautionary tale, but at least the vast majority of people understand that this is not the way someone should be behaving in any type of car with any sort of driver assist features. And this guy was at least reprimanded, and hopefully, if he's going to continue doing this, be reprimanded again more harshly.
You know what I thought of since the last time we talked about him was they could treat him like they do the street racers and take his car, turn it into a police car.
There you go.
Confiscate it. So again, hopefully he changes his ways, or he's dealt with more harshly, and we get a menace to the roads off the roads.
It's funny that Tesla didn't deactivate his FSD.
Can they? Because
because they said they've done that in the past.
No, they haven't. What they have said they have done is that people with FSD beta who didn't abide by the rules, it was taken away. FSD has not been taken away from anyone. They already bought it. It's theirs.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I stand corrected.
I still think though that with a judge calling for the same way that you've got the folks that say you can't touch a computer for 25 years. At that point, I think they could say, hey, Tesla, this guy's not allowed to have his autopilot anymore, and they turn it off.
Right, but I think it would take a court order for Tesla to do that. I don't think they could arbitrarily do that to just somebody that got bad PR.
I would hope Tesla wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Why couldn't they? They arbitrarily take it away from people who sell the cars used to second party.
Only if it goes through the Tesla system or gets sold at auction from the Tesla system. If I sold you my car, the autopilot would stay on.
Okay.
Direct sale remains on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought we reported on one direct sale that didn't say on.
We found out later that car had initially came from a Tesla auction, and they never turned it off. And so then when it sold again from the dealership to the owner, then it got canceled because neither person paid for it, the dealership or the second owner. Yeah.
Well, obviously there's absolutely nothing Tesla could do to prevent this then.
Well, I mean, it opens a can of worms if they start getting into it, but I can see on both sides why it would be good and bad for them to do it. But I would prefer they do it with the order of a judge.
Well, but they certainly could improve their driver monitoring systems.
That part.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like if you see a toe on the
Don't they have a
if you see a toe in the camera.
They do have a weight sensor in the seat, and they've even talked about how it dynamically adjusts the airbags based on the occupant's weight. And they can
you put a bag of flour on the front seat or something?
Oh yeah, it's certainly hackable even if they did that. I mean,
so the guy places a bag of flour and he puts up a cardboard cutout of him sitting in the seat. Like
it's still not going to match your body weight.
there are idiots that will get around any system just to get around them.
Sure.
Trust
me,
nothing
this guy's proved he's determined.
As morons. Morons do the work to defeat genius.
But it'd be different if he's driving on a closed highway in the middle of nowhere, but he's on a public road.
Yeah.
And
I think the since the weight sensor never turns off, they only ask it when you turn the car on, that's your keys, your weight, and the authentication device, either the key or the phone or whatever. And then after that, the only thing that weight sensor does is program the airbag. But if they kept feeding it into everything, then like you said, you'd have to do even more measures to get around it. At least make
Which
it
this
look-
guy
Get a
would.
couple of bags.
But, you know,
He definitely would.
I do
Yeah.
agree that there maybe should be some additional driver, you know, viewing or weight sensors added, because I don't know. We think that they will get around it anyways. Like someone that's trying to prove a point, like Consumer Reports or somebody else, is going to do this stuff anyways and report on it to get the clicks or whatever.
Yeah, but this isn't Consumer Reports' fault.
Well, I'm just saying
they
the
didn't
Consumer
help.
Reports went out of their way to defeat the system in the car by putting weight bags on the steering wheel and whatever else to make the car continue as if it had a driver. This is almost the same thing.
They could have said we did it instead of saying, "Hey, here's how you do it."
All I'm going to say is, on my way back home from the airport, flying out from New York City to Sacramento, they took my yogurts, because I carried two little yogurts in there, sealed from the factory, because it's gel and it's yogurt and it's a gelatin, and I'm like, it's still factory sealed. So if they can take my yogurt and throw it the hell out because it could possibly be magically sealed by me and a bomb, what? Really? You think so? Okay, go for it. But they take it from me. So if I have to dump my yogurt, Tesla can step it up and make it a little bit more inconvenient for a moron to be guiding his car with his toe, because he's going to show us that it's not driver's assistant. It is pretty much driver and moron in the back. So no, well, I think we can step this one up and just make it a little bit harder for this kind of bullshit. Because really, how often do we see these stories?
You can amp it up, Georgia, but I'm also saying that these idiots are going to go above and beyond idiocy
and once
to beat it again.
If I still have to dump yogurt, then we can make it a little more difficult. Because if I'm able to just go, okay, take the yogurt. Okay, here's my 3 ounces of whatever. Here's, no, I'm not carrying anything. No, we're all wearing flip-flops so you can see the bottoms of my feet. Come on. Just make it a little bit harder. Morons will, like I said, there's nothing like a moron to defeat genius, but just make it a touch harder, because right now they're not really working as hard as I want them to do as they run out there being destructive. Put these people to the test.
But can we picture the story now? Had this moron run into a Jersey barrier or killed somebody?
Yeah.
I mean,
there is nothing you can do about these people there is a point where you just you cannot fix that, but you can make it a lot harder.
There's 2 things here, at least. One thing is, assholes are going to be assholes. Jerks are going to be jerks. They're going to find a way around and do something dangerous and stupid so that they can get some more attention on social media, or they can impress somebody or whatever. That's always a thing. But what consistently gets glossed over is Tesla's encouragement and Elon Musk's encouragement of this, that FSD is so good, and wait until you get version 8.914265.AB whatever. It's going to see everything. It's so good we don't need radar anymore. We're just going to use the cameras. It's so much safer than normal driving. Over and over and over again. So, yeah, you know what? This guy's an asshole, and I don't ever want to see his stocking feet on a steering wheel ever again. It's sickening. But there's a reason this is possible, and it's not just because enterprising people do crazy things. It's because Tesla's created it this way intentionally and encouraged this behavior.
They
That's
only
my
encourage you to
opinion.
use it as prescribed, though. I mean, if this guy had said, "Hey, Elon, do this," Elon would be like, "No, turn that shit off." But
I don't see that. I mean, I get that's your opinion, Kacey, but I don't see Elon saying that.
I mean, he didn't ever tweet it directly to Elon either. But I just don't see.
I don't
we
see.
have all these people. We have all these people who already abuse regular cruise control and
No,
and
stop.
weapons.
This isn't about regular cruise control. This isn't about some dude in a fucking Mazda 6, with cruise control in the fast lane of the freeway. This is about something where people can climb in the back seat of the vehicle
It's not the
and
only
sit.
one. We saw it. We saw it with,
Yeah,
we saw it with
Russell.
Cadillac. We saw it with Cadillac. It's
This has
gross.
been done
And
with other vehicles before. It will be done with any vehicle that it's capable of, because there are idiots who bought all these brands.
So what I don't understand is how come the judge didn't see this news parade the guy was on and then send the bailiff out to go grab his ass again?
Hold him in contempt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because we've got systems for this. Why aren't we using them?
Because maybe he's a
Including
blowhard and he's not really going to do it.
I would love to see him do it and get like as soon as he reaches in the car and then they're just there ready to grab his ass.
Well, we will see if there's anything goes beyond that. But we spent enough time on this, I'm sure.
Yes, and I'm so glad the CHP has nothing better to do than to follow this asshole around.
They're busy with stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's arguable too, but we won't go there.
They should be busy with stuff.
Yeah, they should be. God knows. Let's go to our next story, to Mr. Patrick Connor, who has an insidious backroom fight to talk about.
That is right. Yes. From one story about a-holes to another. All right.
Yay!
This story comes to us from Energy and Environment News. The title is Leaked Docks. Gas Industry Secretly Fights Electrification. So this story is about Eversource Energy. They are New England's largest utility. They operate in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. In these leaked docks, Eversource is identified as the co-leader of a national consortium to combat electrification. And the group's mission is to create effective, customizable marketing materials to fight electrification and anti-gas movement. So this is ironic because publicly this company touts their net zero plan, their offshore wind farm plans, but these leaked documents show exactly how wedded to fossil fuels they really are. Here's a few things from these docs. One section said that natural gas is in the fight for its life. Another called for a lobbying campaign asking everyone to contact their legislatures in favor of natural gas. And here's the part that burns me the worst, is that in part of this document, they said,
just say burns me with natural gas.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah. Yes, where my hand on the burner hurt the most here was when they said, how can we take advantage of power outage fear to bolster natural gas fortunes? So
did the natural gas plants going out that broke Texas?
Right, but it doesn't matter as long as you can create fear. We saw the exact same thing. As soon as things went bad in Texas, they started blaming renewable energy. Later, the truth came out, and it was not renewable energy's fault at all. It was the fact that they had not winterized their equipment, even though over a decade ago they were told to do exactly that when they had a similar power outage. And it's Texas. It's not like it was exactly a super green state run by greenies. Anyway, when the fact that they are willing to take advantage of people's fears, play on their fears to try to sell more natural gas is just horrible. And I've plugged this podcast before called Drilled, and they recently did one on the natural gas industry, and how even the phrase cooking with gas, that was a PR campaign by the natural gas industry, and how they got influencers at the time, not called that in the 50s and 60s when they did this, but to spread this, and they hired top chefs to cook with gas and talk about how much better it was than cooking with electricity. And so this has been going on for decades. And here it is yet again popping up its ugly head, trying to keep us using fossil fuels and blame any power outage on renewables, all with a very two-faced. Well, people want to be happy and call us green, so we'll have that public face, and then behind their backs we'll do this other stuff, and we'll join electrification combat consortiums. This is just ridiculous.
That cooking with gas campaign is super strong. It even today, if you suggest that anybody try induction cooking, not the red eye crap, but the actual induction cooking where you can control your cooking to the fraction of a degree, like, oh no, I have more control with gas. It's like, no, you don't.
Right.
Try it
Yeah.
before you knock it.
A friend of mine who is a chef uses induction cooking, and he loves it, and talked about how much better it is than cooking with gas. But there's no big PR campaign out there touting that.
See, what I don't really like baked goods with gas. They have a flavor.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff, when it burns, it's not releasing. You better have your fan on, or your family could die. I mean,
right. We're just getting reports now of what the long-term effects on your lungs are of cooking with gas, inside a home. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's perfectly safe. Why wouldn't it be?" Right? Well, hell, it's an open flame on a petrochemical, for God's sakes. How safe, Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there were multiple people that were turning on their stoves when they lost power and other things recently, and it's not a good idea. You don't want open flames in your house, especially when you have it all boarded up because it's really cold out, and you don't have airflow. Yeah, be safe.
That's all I got.
So were these the same people who pushed the big lie about the windmills, or is that just literally the political party that did that?
That was Donald Trump. Oh no.
I'm sure that there's some birds of a feather in here, when their whole thing is to fight electrification. I'm sure the wind turbines were part of that.
Well, let's just face it. Petrochemicals are more masculine than electricity, okay? And masculine is good.
Even if at toxic levels.
Come on, Georgia. What do I have to do? Would I have to send you an invite? Nothing, right? I'm just talking. Okay.
Paying attention.
Just like our audience. Thank you. Not paying attention to Russell is a sport. That's it. Too long. Well, let's go. Speaking of Georgia, now let's talk about. Take it away, Georgia. I'm sorry.
Well, on the plus side, this is a good story. So let's talk a little bit about the American Jobs Plan, which has tremendous electrification, which Mark brought up. So in a way, thank you, Mark, for the lovely lead-in. So what does it have? Well, I've got a great little Green Biz article that basically lays out the best part of it, which are the investments for electric vehicles and electric vehicle infrastructure. So there's a boost for EV chargers. Biden's goal is to have 500,000 chargers built out across the US by 2030. Now, there's grants and incentive programs. It's not going to come directly from the federal government. So that's going to be pretty cool. And that's going to allow local and state governments, as well as the private sector, to deploy more EV chargers. So I cannot wait to have.
Sorry, Georgia, you said 500,000?
500,000.
Okay, so we just talked about Tesla having 25,000.
25,000 plugs.
Right.
Yeah.
So
these are
that's
chargers.
A huge number.
Yeah.
If they can pull
so it's
it
a
off.
massive investment. And I mean, even if he gets half of that, I think that's a good thing. So I cannot wait for Mark or Kacey to do the long-term trip test of the new chargers, which we will get to sometime in 2024, I'm sure. Another key thing, school and transit buses. This is something I've actually been looking at since I started on this show, because my thing is public transit. And I'm really pleased to see this. They want to replace 50,000 diesel-powered transit vehicles, as well as electrify 20% of the U.S. school bus fleet. And it's the new Clean Buses for Kids program. Now, when you consider that some of our most dense population areas are also ones where kids are in urban areas with a lot of gas pollution, transportation-based pollution. Again, I was back in New York City and I had such a tremendous headache riding around in a lift, because when we're out on the street, it was just overwhelming, the scent of car exhaust. I'm not used to having to be around that many cars on the road, and it was incredible. So imagine living with that and you're a child. So when we have things like in poor neighborhoods, we often have an increase in asthma and other breathing related issues from kids because of the fact that they are basically just absorbing and stewing in car exhaust from buses and cars in their neighborhoods. So this is a pretty cool program. And I think, once again, all for it. The federal fleet is also supposed to be electrifying, including the U.S. Post Office. Now, we don't have a whole lot of details on that, probably because it's hush hush, but I'm sure as they move forward on that, we'll get more. They're also going to be working on boosting domestic manufacturing of batteries and EVs with automotive incentives, which ties right back to that battery story Paul brought up, which is awesome. So one of the things that we've needed to do for a long time is stop thinking that being able to ship manufacturing off out of the U.S. for cheaper labor costs somehow translates into cheaper products and good domestic fiscal policy. We need to manufacture here, and bringing that back here is not just critical for the sustainability issue, but as a matter of national security. If we lose all the important manufacturing factories when we need it, we won't have it. And that's something that they've run into before, and it's beyond time for us to prioritize putting back big manufacturing like this right back here in the States. So on top of that, we get all these electric vehicles, we get these electric buses, we have these chargers. Maybe, just maybe, we should have a great new shiny grid that can handle all this electricity. So, an investment tax credit to cover transmission lines, and also more funding for energy storage projects. They would extend the ITC and production tax credit for another decade. And then a clean energy standard. So this is one of those things that California has been leading the way in, and now we're looking at adopting that for federal standards. So, hey, let's get that electric grid working, because it kind of would be nice if we had something new and shiny, and that we've been needing to work on our electrical grid going back now for decades, and it's about time somebody put that money towards it. Then $85 billion to decarbonize transit. So that's modernizing our existing transit. $80 billion on top of that for intercity rail systems like Amtrak, which I'm a fan of. I do love myself some train travel. So it's a doubling of our federal investment into public transit. And that's a good thing. How are we going to pay for it? Increase in corporate taxes, because let's face it, it is about time that Amazon paid more taxes than I do.
Well, you are pretty rich. I mean,
yeah, that 60K I earn is just has me just doing like this, making it rain. I mean, it's pennies. Well, look, a penny. But now, what's the big obstacle? Congress. But once we actually have something ready to go through Congress, it's going to pass the House. The big issue will be the Senate. And of course, everybody's two favorite Democrats right now, Joe, attention whore mansion, and Kristen, what the fuck, bitch, Sienema, who have been two, that is right. This show has really been an a-hole-orama, because those two are assholes, and they're just busy being attention whores, wandering around talking about bipartisanship and acting like big nubs. So those are your two biggest obstacles in the Senate. Definitely going to pass the House, because God bless Nancy Pelosi. She knows how to count a vote and whip people. And I don't know if I mean just counting those whippy votes by offering and wheeler dealer, or if she comes through at the end of the night with a big old bullwhip and says, if you don't vote for it, I'm going to take you out. Whichever way works for you, Nancy. Love what you do. But Mansion and Sienna are going to be the biggest problems on that one. And the media will, of course, whine a lot about bipartisanship by promoting whatever twat squatch Republican decides to whine in front of a microphone. But there you go. That's pretty cool. And one other cool thing that I can talk about on top of this bill, which is another little sidebar and a bonus effect of having a president with a plan to electrify vehicles, is Lions Electric has opening up a new factory in Illinois. Let me make sure I have that right. Joliet, Illinois,
Joliet.
for construction of a U.S. manufacturing facility. Now, Lion Electric is based in Canada, but it's building it here in the U.S., which is what we want. And they are building a battery plant in their home country, and this one is to start production with an annual capacity by 2022, hopefully, of 20,000 zero-emission vehicles, which will be electric buses and electric trucks. So our investment legislatively in vehicle electrification and modernization is already paying off now, because we have companies planning to invest here in America that will bring new jobs and better vehicles into heavy transit areas, which will also improve the health of the people living there, which reduces medical costs. So all in all, we got this through. It's a win-win. Going over to Russell and back to you. Unless people want to talk about this.
So you
I just
mentioned
want
the
to comment, but
you mentioned the 500,000 plugs. When we compared it to Tesla's 25,000 plugs, that's worldwide. So 500,000 right here would do some serious dents in people's fears and uncertainties.
Definitely.
Well, we're talking 2030 if you go back and double check that.
Yep, that's what it
But
said.
2030, okay.
Yep. Yeah, but their
Now, that's
25,000 is from 2012 to 2021, so that is substantial no matter how you cut it.
And when you consider that we had, 5 people vaccinated by the time he took office, and we're
Yes.
now headed into 2 million, it seems like a lot to say 500,000. But if he did that, sounds like it's something we can actually do. I think Americans have lost a real sense of the capabilities of this country when we put our minds to it. We're absorbing far too much negativity about doing the work, about achieving great things, and about what Americans can do when we want to do it. And I think that the fact that somebody is willing to make this investment and say, yeah, we can do this thing, that's a valuable look at looking at us and saying that this country is capable of doing it, and I believe in it enough to put some money towards the problem. And it's nice to have someone in elected office that does not treat us, I mean, granted, a good portion of us are morons, but they're not the sole people who exist in this plane, and we can ignore the morons and actually achieve. And I think we've proven that. And it's time we not just took a little bow on vaccinations, but said, yeah, you know what? That's a lot. 500,000 chargers is a huge amount, but we might just actually be able to pull that shit off. And I think we should just go for it. Let's do it. Again, Congress though.
Yeah, it'd be nice, because at that level, you could have them at every condo, every apartment, every mall, restaurants,
station.
movie theaters. You could, so that they don't all have to be fast chargers along the highway. We certainly need those too, but then you could also have level 2s at a lot of locations, so that you can do opportunity charging. So then if you're able to plug in nearly everywhere you stop during the day, and it's able to recoup what you used to get there, hey, that's great. You're just plugging in and collecting a little bit of juice here and there throughout your day. That's the way you should do it, because then you're never going out of your way to go somewhere. There's only, depending on what you look at, between 100,000 and 150,000 gas stations in the U.S. So if we go to this level and we have a similar number of charging spots with 5 or 10 charging stalls at each to get to 500,000, that would be awesome. Outnumber the number of gas stations.
And you mentioned, bringing it back home instead of trying to look for outsourced cheap labor everywhere. That like as you said, that savings never saw its way into our products. It saw its way into corporate bonuses, and then it disappeared forever.
One sort of sidebar on this whole topic I want to mention is having a domestic energy plan and electrification is going to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, especially like Middle Eastern. And, yes, the defense contractors will be pissed, but they're a bunch of smart engineers. They could start building EV infrastructure, wind power, battery storage, because honestly, the only reason the U.S. has been in the Middle East is because they had oil. If there was no product that we needed, why would we be there?
Right. Very true.
A lot less of a Captain Save a people.
Right. Yeah. So
It would also be nice not to be vulnerable to, I don't know, let's say a hypothetical hack of a pipeline that shuts down production for a little bit and makes people do weird things like filling up their 27 gas containers or
plastic shopping
garbage
bags.
containers of
Hey,
that's actually from 2019. But somebody was filling up on their truck like 10-gallon tanks, not just not real tanks, but like 10-gallon garbage containers. They were putting them in there, and somebody was also filling up
storage tubs.
A storage tub, a Rubbermaid storage tub, and I did printmaking in college, and yeah, we used gasoline to dissolve stuff like rubber-based inks, which would be basic components of a garbage.
People are crazy.
Oh, I have no idea that they were this bad. I mean, I'm a misanthrope, but I didn't realize I was really picking up on what y'all are.
How long before locking gas caps make a reappearance?
Well,
Pretty soon.
Well, most cars have a locking
I have a locking door now or something, I guess. Yeah. I just remember when siphoning gas was all the rage. Because gas was like almost 80 cents a gallon. People lost their minds.
Oh my gosh. So expensive.
I saw an ad by Detroit Electric, and it was like, electric is 8 cents and gas is 23 cents.
Nice. Well, thank you, Georgia, for that. And yeah, you know what? A brighter future would be a nice thing. It's nice to think that we could do good things for the long term. And maybe even those people that follow us, what do we call them? Kids. Maybe we won't screw them over quite as hard. Maybe.
Be nice.
Let's do some shout outs and go home while I try and figure out which a-hole title I like the best. Because, yeah, that word's going to be in there. I'm just giving you that heads up right now. I'm going to start with Patrick Hunter.
Hello. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I also blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Patrick, for all that you do, and you do a lot. Kacey Green, give us the details.
Got a couple videos coming out for you over at youtube.com/Kacey Green. Check them out. They're good ones. Obviously working on.
No, you don't have to elaborate. I'm just like, that's the shortest plug you've ever done. How long have you been on this show, Kacey? What? Bless you for your brevity, my brother. Thank you. Mr. Coughlin, what's going on up north?
Well, I would like to tell the people that are still watching this show.
Oh, God help them.
Besides that,
Yeah.
I would like, if you're still breathing, please give us a thumbs up at this point, and also subscribe to the channel. Help us out. All these numbers gets us in front of more people's eyeballs, and the algorithms at YouTube would be appreciated. We would appreciate it. Please do so. And thanks so much for watching tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Coughlin. Mr. Guzik.
you plugged me at the beginning of the show, so I'm just going to say check us out at boulderh.com or boulderhc.com.
And do that if you're anywhere near the front ridge. You want to hook up with Paul because he can take care of your vehicle. And you can trust him. Unlike those other mechanics.
Oh, yes.
Is it rude to call you a mechanic, Paul?
I run a mechanics business, so.
Yeah. I just thought of that. Like, is that like.
I mean, I don't turn many wrenches these days because I'm too busy.
Busy running the business. Yeah.
But from time to time, I do turn a wrench, and that's how I got to this point. And really had to hire people to turn the wrenches. You hand built my Prius for me, right? At least that's what I have in my head. Every single bolt I personally screwed in.
Exactly. See, that's what I like. Paul rebuilt my Prius from a box of parts by hand, which didn't happen, folks. Paul's a great guy, but he's not that dumb. He wouldn't do that. Georgia, it all ends with you, my dear.
All right. Then I'm just going to remind you, you've been here this long. You obviously like us. So go on ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to bounce over to the Tesla Life because Mark's got all the information for you. Hit like and subscribe there. And go over and hit Kacey Green's channel because you want to watch him have his Tesla like chase him like a puppy or something like that. and then go and think, really, Kacey? I mean, you're not even scratching its belly. You got to give it a little bit more, Kacey. But yeah, hit like and subscribe there because then you get all the great car-related content. And I'd like personally to thank you for watching, hanging out with us. Hope you learned something. And I'm going to send it right back over to Russell.
Thank you so much, Georgia. As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for our amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Buy his music, Michael Manring, wherever you buy music. It doesn't matter. Buy a song, buy an album. Support the people who support this show. And we thank him for his generous donations of music over the years, including our theme song. I want to thank Georgia McKenzie, Mark Coughlin, Patrick Connor, Kacey Green, and Paul Guzik. And every time I read those names off the screen, like I don't know these people. I love that. That like host brain.
You forget our names the minute this show shuts down.
Russell's like, yeah, that one.
The guy in the t-shirt. Yeah, it was the guy in the t-shirt. And I want to, of course, thank all of you for supporting us over the years. And now, thank you for watching the show. You're the reason we do it. Please tune in next week and find out what drives us.
Stay positive.
See you next week.